Welcome to the show, everybody. It is Same Cast, Different Day podcast. I'm Martell Roland.
And I'm Tina Marie. Hey y'all, hey.
She want to act like a mom today on this episode. So those of y'all who are watching the video version or watching this
I
live,
got the water running. Sorry y'all. I gotta clean my sink out, my bad. Wash my hands.
me personally, I couldn't even hear the sink water.
oh. Oh, okay, we're good. I can wash some dishes then.
Yeah, I didn't hear it. So on this episode, I was just talking to Tina. I was like, maybe we should like just take like a step back and talk about everyday life and issues and things that's going on in community stuff that affects normal everyday people. And I feel like one of the things that we need to touch on is because due to how can I say this without Tina getting in trouble?
Oh my God. I don't even know
No,
what he finna say though.
I'm just gonna say like we need to touch on like overdose stuff
Oh, we can talk
and how
about
like
that. How am I gonna get in trouble with that?
and like how people can get help because I didn't HIPAA law and all that other kind of stuff. So
Well, I'm not gonna talk.
um
I don't have to talk about anybody single nobody out.
okay, I'm trying to make sure somebody can keep their license and stuff.
Oh, I'm definitely gonna keep the money coming, honey. Gotta keep the money.
So so one of the things we talk about because we see is a lot of drug use that's going on out here. I started watching this show called on I think it's called On Air Live, like live. And one of the things
Hmm.
that I didn't know about was the fentanyl and heroin being as bad as it is.
Yes, it is.
So like
Yes, it is.
like majority of the time when they were like pulling over people and when they pull over these people and they search their cars or whatever, most of the majority of the time, it was either fentanyl or heroin that they were, or is meth, is heroin and meth the same thing? Y'all, you say no, I don't
You
do
said it's
drugs.
what?
It's like
So
heroin and
fentanyl
meth is
is an
this
opiate. No, heroin and meth are not the same thing. Fentanyl is a derivative of heroin. So anything that's an opiate comes from heroin. And heroin,
okay?
excuse me. No, let me back up. So heroin and all its derivatives come from the opium plant, which is where the word opiate comes from.
Hmm.
Okay, and opium or like poppy seeds and all that stuff. Um, they are. I don't know of any like poppy seed fields here, but they are big in other countries.
Okay. That's a lot to remember. Okay, because I was watching this show and I kept like a lot of people that were getting pulled over with one of those three things in their vehicle. And from watching this show, this was the first time that I learned that fentanyl was like in a pill form. I never knew that this whole time. I thought it was something totally different, like a powder or something. Um, I didn't know. I don't know. So I don't know if they crush the pill and do stuff with it. I don't know. But we see these things happening in our community, and it's like, how do we slow it down? How do we protect people from having overdoses? Like it was this one show I was watching called New Amsterdam, and one of the doctors where there was like this place set up where people who were doing I think believe heroin or meth, whatever's the one that you shoot up. Uh, there was like these places that they can go to where these people can safely use
Hmm.
these drugs.
Safely used. Safely used.
Yeah,
Yep.
where they would get clean
Hmm.
needles and stuff all the time. And I was
Hmm.
wondering, like, if
Hmm.
something that existed in Milwaukee, and I feel like if there's a way where people are who are addicted is like instead of just sending them to jail or whatever, like yeah, they was on the drug or whatever they sent them. I feel like, and one of the things I feel like a law should change. Like I feel like if you are a
So they did.
user,
They did. So they did change. Like when the opiate epidemic. was finally reached the words of epidemic, that has to go
Mhm.
through politics and stuff like that, right? They started siphoning money for people like mental health services. What else did they put into play? Um, that's why a lot of these companies have programs now. If you are suffering from addiction, they don't fire you if you're trying to get help. Um, what else have I
No,
seen?
no, I was saying like if instead of like when these people when you know that they're users, instead of sending them in jail automatically and locking them up, and now they spending 3 to 4 years in jail, and they go cold turkey in jail, and they say they back out on the streets doing it anyway. Instead of like sending them to jail, why don't we just send them to a clinic for help,
So
especially if
I
they
feel
are a
like so,
repeat
so I
a
feel
repeat
like
user.
nope. I feel like anybody in possession of these illicit scheduled substances, right, that do not have a prescription, because some prescription medications are scheduled, right?
Hmm.
When I say scheduled, that means they're on the list of illicit substances, right?
Hmm.
So I feel like that yes, if you are in possession of one of these things and you get caught, like yes, you should be taken to jail, but they can process you differently, right? So if you are in jail, I feel like because they were putting a lot of people in jail for smoking weed.
Hmm. They were.
So I don't want them to decide because it's an opiate epidemic. When they had the crack epidemic, they didn't care.
Mm-mm.
They still like, you know what I'm saying? So then when the prescription pills came out, right, which is this illegal substance, um, and they just was like, oh, we have to help people. So that's what I didn't like. It's so many other things going on here. Meth is created in a lab, like home, like basement labs or whatever.
Hmm.
And it's typically a mixture of chemicals they get you high. So think about like when people like huff paint, like spray paint, stuff like that. You still get a high, but it's
Hmm.
not like technically a drug, right? So it's not
Hmm.
like it's an illegal substance. They put together and formulate crystal meth because it looks like a little crystal, and they get high off of chemicals. Basically, is what it is.
Hmm.
Okay. So I do feel like if you are in possession of these illegal substances, yeah, you should be. It shouldn't be a slap on the wrist because you wasn't giving people slaps on the wrist for smoking blunts in their car. Okay, so no,
No.
but I do feel like they
Well,
can
I
be
was just talking about like
processed
in all.
differently.
I feel like I was just saying like any drug that people were getting caught using recreational in general. I feel like if you're a person distributing the drug and creating the drug, then yeah, you should get some jail time. Um, I feel like if we're going to send people to jail for, well, I don't think people should go to jail for weed at all. Cause I don't know anybody who's got high and I'm afraid go kill a bitch. Like that's just something I've never
Because
heard
and
somebody
so
smoke weed and do.
it's not physically addicting. It can be psychologically addicting, meaning it can give you a lot of
Hmm.
anxiety. If you
Right.
smoke a lot,
Right. So I'm thinking like, well, why don't they just send in these people who's like on like meth or crack or any type
because
of
it
these
ain't
other
enough
stuff?
spaces.
And
So it's
that
not
right,
enough
and
spaces for the
it is
people.
not enough spaces either, and I thought about that too because I'm like for well like people who are like repeat offenders, I'm like okay yeah let's just send them to jail because you just never learned your lesson. But if you like, I say like your first or second term, and then you like hey, let's send this person to, a place to get clean, and then we had to serve a year in jail afterwards.
So from my readings, research, and being told by people who were on certain drugs, any opiate derivative, so you got your oxys, you got your
Mm-hmm.
heroin, et cetera, is the hardest to get off.
Mm-hmm.
It is the most addictive. Okay. Now you got
Mm-hmm.
to think about in terms of addiction. So you got your physical withdrawals, you have your mental withdrawals, right?
Mm-hmm.
and then you got to break a habit. So it takes a long period of time, and it's
Mm-hmm.
a process. So those people need to go to the hospital first, right, to make sure
Mm-hmm.
they can detox safely in a controlled environment.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then they have to take it upon themselves. And a lot of times they get sponsors where they check in on the people like, hey, you missed your meeting, support groups,
Mm-hmm.
things like that. Then they have to get rehab to be able to join back into the general population and be a successful person
Mm-hmm.
overall, and be a successful, responsible person, and learn how to say no and stop falling into those old habits. So you got to think about it. Addiction, it has a root cause. So
Mm-hmm.
you also have to see psych. A lot of people um, that come to our clinic with substance abuse issues, they have to do talk therapy or see a psychiatrist because there
Mm-hmm.
is a deep seated cause as to why they have these addictions. Now, you do have some people that are social users, okay, where like social drinkers, right? Because alcohol is also addictive, okay? So let's not leave
Mm-hmm.
that out. We're not we're not talking about just drugs in general, nicotine, like all of that stuff. It's a lot of as we terrible, just terrible. Um, we're terrible, but so you got to think about just the root cause. It can be anxiety, depression, PTSD, trauma. It can be a lot of those things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, they have to learn how to overcome those things in order to battle their addiction. So it's a very, very long process. And when I say we don't have the resources here in this country, that's what I mean. Now, you do have rehab facilities if the person is not in a predicament where they absolutely have to do an inpatient stay at a hospital. And these
Mm-hmm.
rehab facilities do have trained medical personnel there where they can detox safely. But then again, they cost a lot of money, right? So that was one of the things that they introduced as a bill to reform the opiate epidemic, was send out all of these grants and funding for people to be able to have access to rehab, access to medications to help them with their addictions. They try to put, more of a incentive on people to get into these fields of expertise. Um, and then they also, what else? Here in our city, they started offering Narcan for free, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can go to a fire station and get Narcan for free. That's one of the places. There's a lot of other places you can go to Narcan and get it for free. Now, so things like that used to come in like an injectable, a pill, this, that, and the other, right? But now they give it as a nasal spray because it makes more sense. If the person is unconscious, a lot of people, yeah, for one, don't know how to inject or where to inject, right? If it
Mm-hmm.
comes in the nasal spray, I know how to put it up your nose,
Mm-hmm.
and that helps to save a lot of lives, right? So,
Yes.
but Narcan is only for opiates. That's it.
So if that's what one. So when you brought like the healthcare thing into and how expensive these programs in, do you think if we had universal healthcare in the states, a lot of people would go get helps with their addiction?
So I do feel like it's just a shortage of people in that field because it is very that can wear down a person, kind of like social work, right?
Yeah,
Eventually, it'll wear
but
somebody down.
we don't have a lot of people in those fields either. More because we went through a time period where we would basically had this mind, or you would hear other people saying like you weak if you go talk to a therapist, or a real man don't need to
It
go
used to
talk
be
to.
more taboo than it is now.
Yeah, and
Correct.
so like
So
back in the day, we had a lot of those people available, but now it's like this time period where people who needed help wasn't really seeking out help. So it's like If there's nobody
But you
seeking out
gotta
these services, why are we paying these people to be on staff? So it's like they started cutting them.
so no so those people still need to be on staff because there's people that still need those providers that don't have addiction.
Right.
So you got to think about it like that, and I guarantee each and every one of us can benefit from counseling of some sort. And you got to think about it. Counseling doesn't only come in the healthcare field. Your pastors, your priests, your
Mm-hmm.
reverends, they're also taught how to counsel.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you got your school counselors, even though they few and far in between. They still counsel your primary care providers. That's becoming. I mean, I started out as a psych major. You know what I'm saying?
When I was in
So
high school,
it's starting to
we had
become
one school
incorporated more
counselor
into
for
like family practice.
we had one school counselor for over like 2,000 some students.
And see, that's crazy. But I will say this: like most people that go into like psychiatry or even like PMH and Ps, which are psychiatric mental health nurse practitioners, they get paid more than regular doctors, regular nurse practitioners,
Hmm.
physician assistants, all of that, right? Because they know what come along with it. That's something very heavy to deal with, and a lot of people have a lot of deep, very unfortunate things that have happened to them, and for that to weigh on your conscience, and you seeing like 20 people a day, it's like how do you process that? So then, in turn, how do you deal with your mental health? That's why I said a lot of people come
Yeah.
out of that field
And,
because it's
and,
hard.
and
It's hard.
and locally here though, it's like to me, it felt like our city was like we don't want to spend the money for mental health care. And they closed down the only facility where you can go. And if you needed that long term care in a room to stay in while you were seeking this long term care, they closed that place down. And now they have a place
No,
where
they got Rogers. Rogers is still open and running.
they're
You do
they're still
inpatient
open,
there.
but
They
it's
have
not.
Dewey.
Yeah,
They
but
have
like
Dewey.
Roger. So like when I was working at the mental health facility that I was at, if you had health insurance, they wouldn't even take you at the place I was working at. They will send you to Rogers because Rogers is basically no off of health insurance. But a lot of people who
Yep.
don't have health insurance or any type of thing, there's no place for them to go long term if they need help, like mental health
So when
help,
you mean long term, do you mean inpatient or outpatient?
inpatient. Like they say,
So Dewey,
at the facility.
yep, Dewey at Sinai does it.
So
So
like
Sinai used to be the
So like
hospital back in
like
the
like
day.
like yeah, like even at the hospital I work at now, like they would to like they got a unit for those people, but at the same time, it's like their mental health, whatever their thing is, that is not really being taken care of because the
No,
people who
because
are
it's a process.
yeah
So then that's why
yeah
they're supposed. So any other chronic condition, when you go to a hospital because you're unstable, they're going to keep you till you're stable enough to be released, right? That's any chronic condition. Then after that, you
mhm.
have to follow up outpatient. So they do have a lot. It's a lot of outpatient clinics out here, but it kind of goes into just any chronic condition. If the person doesn't want to take responsibility of managing their chronic condition by just showing up to an appointment, it's not really nothing we can do, especially if they are their own person. Now, when
yeah
it comes down
yeah
to like mental health things, we can chapter them and force them into inpatient. But those are very
but I'm talking
specific
about for the
conditions.
ones
We-
who can't, like the ones who can't make their own decisions, the ones who can't like really find somebody like literally holding their hand. Like is one there who's been there for a while now, but there's regular healthcare doctors going in and seeing this person, not mental health experts, just regular doctors. Until and
right. So
it's basically just a person there until we figure out where we can send you, that we can send you with health insurance.
correct. So think about it like this. That person is still under the watchful eye of healthcare professionals. They do not
Yeah,
have access to
yeah,
narcotics, right?
yeah. They can't have nothing like that. Yeah, I know that. Yeah,
Okay. So to me that's a win in this situation. Even if they're lucky that they are still there. Now, if the person cannot make their own decisions, then it's up to them to have a guardianship put in place, power of attorney. If they don't have neither one of those, then that person becomes the state of Wisconsin becomes their
Right.
guardian.
Award of the state.
Yes. So then they make those decisions. Okay. So it's I mean, I don't really see it as a broken system. It's just slow. And it's because we just don't have enough resources for something like that. Because once again, like you said, back in the day, it was so taboo for people to even speak out about these things. It was kept quiet, swept under the rug. The family dealt with it. That's just who they are, such and such and such and such, and not really holding those people accountable. Yes, they're grown, but at the same time, if you have a loved one that's spiraling out of control, why wouldn't you say something to them? I understand it's an uncomfortable conversation, but it's also uncomfortable to see somebody, what I'm saying, just be a shell of themselves. And a lot of times these things, like, to me, addiction is a disease. A lot of people be like, oh, well, no, they da 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 da, they know better. No, when something take hold of you, and you can't shake that from you, and that's all you know, and that's what make you feel better because everything else don't make you feel better, which way are you going?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like they need to learn healthy coping mechanisms. They need to be educated as to why these substances are not good for them, what their life expectancy looks like if you continue to use these substances, and then what are they doing to their families? Like, they have to be sat down and educated by somebody. And a lot of times the family, they don't want to listen to the person in the family. It takes, and you know how I hate this. I can say something to somebody, and it takes for somebody else to say the same thing to them to want to actually, take note and be like, oh, okay, I need to do something. Sometimes that's what it takes for a person to hear. If somebody completely a stranger to you, don't know too much about you, you feel like they're not passing judgment. They can't talk about it to somebody else because of HIPAA, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's like now you're in a safe space because that's what it's supposed to be, to get all of this stuff out when you're ready to. Everybody moves at their own pace with something like that. And I mean, when I say just me being a nurse for what, like 6 years, I've seen and heard a lot of traumatic stuff. A lot. A lot. You know what I'm saying? And just to see, and in my role, I have to remain very unbiased, right? Non-judgmental. I'm there to help.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So now, especially if you came to us for help, that is the very first step, and I'm proud of you because
Right.
it takes a lot to say, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
So, so I just think that it's just the lack of resources. And like I was saying, this is something that has been discussed in my clinic where, because a lot of mental health issues are more prevalent, right? Because we always group addiction under a mental health issue. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's a mental health issue, and then it becomes a physical issue because now you're physically addicted to the medication, and I mean the substance. And if you come down off of it, it's a possibility you can die if it's not in a controlled environment, right? So now primary care is taking on more of these things and trying to bridge the gap until a lot of the patients can get in to see the specialists. So that's what we have been doing in
Mm-hmm.
order to try to combat something like that. So and I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's they're not the experts, but you do receive education about addiction medicine. You do. And then some people, like
Right.
doctors, physicians, they are, even if it's not their specialty, like they didn't go do a fellowship in addiction medicine or something like that, um, they are still trained to treat the body as a whole. All them years of education and training and this, that, and the other, they can literally go to any, just like a nurse. I can go to any specialty because I was trained that way. You get what I'm saying? So I have the
Mm-hmm.
knowledge. I have the base knowledge to deal with it. It's just a lot of people just are not gravitating towards that because it's hard on you. Like you have to be very, you have to be a very strong person to have to take on a lot of people's traumas. You just have to. And me personally, as a healthcare professional, I feel like that's what I hear the most, the burnout with just that, because it's not a lot of them. And then it's, they're being flooded with a lot of people that need help. And then you get this guilt that you can't help everybody. And then when you see somebody, that was doing good and they backslide, you start to second guess yourself. What could I have done better? Did I say something? Did I, you start going through all of this stuff in your mind, and that's where the burnout comes from, or it's just like when people go into crisis mode and they call you in the middle of the night, so it's a lot to come with it. And it's like, yeah, they get paid more, but not much more to deal with, it's a lot. It is a lot. So I really feel like, the one thing that we try to teach people that is actively going through addiction is you need to have a very stable support system. That's why we try to get them into groups. That's your support system. You get a sponsor when you get into the group. I can call you up if I'm starting to have like these, cravings and stuff like that. So I don't know, but yes, to piggyback off of it and to circle back around, I do feel like, yes, if you get caught, if you get caught with something you ain't supposed to have, it's illegal for a reason, right? And we can't just slap them on the hand with it, because it's like people start to think, well, they ain't gonna do nothing to me, I'm just gonna keep going. Now, if your actions start to have consequences, then it's like, oh man, after a while, you're going to be like, this is really messing me up. Then if somebody come to you and be like, listen, I know you can't really keep a job, keep housing, food, clothing, but I can help you. But these are the rules. You got to hold people accountable to stuff.
Yes, I
was because then if you don't hold them accountable, then you become an enabler.
I wasn't saying fault they get a slap on at first, at least that first time. Let them give that first time, like, okay, you know what? If you go through this rehab program or whatever, then we will give you a lighter jail sentence. But I say about that second or third time, you should have even learned your lesson by then at that point. And yeah, you need.
And it's so crazy to me because. It's so crazy to me because I feel like for DUIs, right, they're very kind of lax here. In our state, you got to have so many DUIs before you get jail time, right? If you didn't cause property damage or bodily harm.
Correct. So yeah, and I think before you actually get I think you have to get like 6 DUIs here. In order for them to actually do something. I think they don't even suspend your license after your 4th or 5th DUI.
They put the little thing in your car so you can drive.
Yeah, and then you don't go to jail until you get like your 6th DUI or something like that. And then the only time you really get any major jail time is one, you caught driving on the wrong side of the highway, or you do some serious property damage while under the influence and you get caught doing it.
That's what I'm saying. Bodily harm or property damage. If you don't cause none of those, you get so many slaps on the wrist, right? Somebody, it used to be if you got caught with some weed in the car, you going to jail. Now they just started enforcing like if you have less than like a gram or something, like, which is usually how much weed somebody can typically smoke at one time, right? Then you get a ticket. You get a ticket now.
Right.
So kind of like a DUI, because they make that so it's kind of like you driving under the influence because you're under the influence or something. You know what I'm saying? So, but then it kind of go back to what it exactly is a DUI. Is a DUI only when they're under the influence of drugs and alcohol? And what kind of drugs? Is it just illicit drugs? Because they can be under the influence of their pain medication. They can be under any medication. Any medication can alter your mental state. Anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I
That
feel like that's kind of like a gray area with that, you know?
true, and it's crazy because like that show I was telling you about that I be watching. Like when you see a lot of those people, when you see them get pull over somebody that's for a DUI, like they go to jail right away in some states. And I feel like the state that we live, when it
The
comes
southern
to
states don't play
getting
that.
caught drinking
Southern states don't play that.
here,
Wisconsin, though, we know this is a drinking state. So, you
yeah.
know,
But
unfortunately
then
for cheap dairy and drinking and barbecue, brats rather.
I mean, it's your generation that's out there doing all that drinking and driving.
You drinking right now? I drink to that safely in my home. I do not condone drinking and driving.
Wait,
hmm It's like everybody, please just know what
so
your limitations are. Like I don't condone drinking or being under the influence of anything and not being in your home. Okay, like I don't condone it. Like you got to know what your limitations are. It can be loss of life, limb. You can kill somebody else. You can damage property. You know, it's a major setback. Like, it's just not worth it. Like, know what your limitations are, okay? Because these rules are put into place, and heaven forbid that somebody die after you trying to have fun.
right.
Excuse me, I'm
Uh,
alive. I'm sorry.
and and, and speaking of stuff, y'all, I need to tell y'all about this. Y'all know Uncle Joe was here yesterday.
Who?
Uncle
Who was
Joe
there?
pissed me off yesterday. Uncle Joe pissed me off
Oh, what did he
yesterday. Let
do?
me tell y'all. Everybody, if you don't know, I travel through downtown to get home. You know, for people who don't watch the news or whatever, I need for them to figure out sometime they should have sent out a text alert or email that say Uncle Joe is going to be in town. Avoid this
Oh
area.
my God.
I was trying to get home from work yesterday. Uncle Joe was over there at the Boys and Girls Club in the ghetto outside waving and shit, taking his slow time. They had the street blocked off for 25 minutes. We waiting for this old geezer to drive
I
down.
forgot. I forgot he was here. Oh
And
man.
then when he drove past, he looked like one of those, kids that's that
Like in
you
the
know what I'm
kid in the
saying.
candy shop, like,
He I'm trying not to so that I don't get canceled.
oh my God. Pleasant. He looked pleasantly confused.
Yeah, okay, we're gonna say that as he was driving past. It
Okay.
was so funny because they had showed a clip of him when he was at the Boys and Girls Club and he had walked in and everybody started clapping and he was looking around like why is everybody started clapping and he started clapping off the music.
Shut
And
up right
I'm pretty
now.
sure other people have been in a situation like you walk in and it's just something happened and you just join in like what's happening like what everybody else was doing. That's how he
Shut
looked
up.
when he walked into that Boys and Girls Club and they started clapping for him.
Shut up. I'm not
Oh
gonna
my
do
god!
it.
I wish I had the video on here to show y'all. It was fucking hilarious. But I sat there. I was sitting there by Fires and Forum. For you don't know, that's where the Milwaukee Bucks players play it. Milwaukee Bucks play it. So I was sitting there, and I'm sitting there, and I'm sitting there, and I'm sitting there, like, okay, why is traffic not moving? So then I finally pay attention, like, oh, it's some flashing lights right here. Like I see police lights. I'm like, okay, maybe it's a real bad accident. Something they ain't got to freak go through. Okay,
Not you forgot he was gonna be here too.
I forgot. And
Mm,
I drove
mm.
down to the next block, and I'm like, that street's blocked off too. So then I drive down to the next block, and I'm like, damn, this street is blocked off too. So I drive down to the next block, and I turn like, I can't fucking go north. Like I need to get home. I'm trying to get home, and they had all the streets blocked off, so I couldn't get home. So it's like you literally just sitting there and just waiting and waiting and waiting. And I'm like, and it came to the point, like, mind you, I still haven't put together why we're waiting. Like, why is all these streets blocked off? I haven't put that together
Oh
yet.
my God. Oh
So
my
we just
God.
still sitting there just waiting and waiting and waiting. Everybody else is like, what the fuck is we waiting for? I guess everybody who got normal 9 to 5 jobs didn't know why we were all just there waiting. So we're just waiting. And then next thing I know, I'm like, now look up. And I'm like, huh, it's an orange helicopter out there. Like, dang, was the accident that bad that they had to bring in Fight for Life? So I'm thinking, thinking it's
Yeah, it
that.
was like for life out there. It
It
was.
wasn't. It wasn't. It was for Uncle Joe.
Like, so it was a bad accident down on
All I
Drexel
know is
Road. The
that
young lady went
what.
through the windshield.
All I know is that about 37 years later, you saw a group of motorcycles, 3 SUVs. Then he finally drove past, and another limo finally drove past, and then some more police cars drove past, and another police car drove past. Then 2 ambulances drove behind the thing. I said, "Now what the
Yes.
hell?" I was getting
Yes.
pissed off. Like
That's how they do.
I was so pissed off. And first of all, sir, I hope you ain't traveling here on American dollars because I don't know how the hell did y'all get two Air Force
He
two of
he
those
came
limousines.
he came to talk about the
If he
whole
if he came here to
traffic
campaign,
initiative thing we
if
doing.
he
No,
came here
if he
to
was coming,
campaign, he better use
so
his
he
own
did
money.
come here. So he came about the things we doing, those concrete barriers and stuff we putting in the street.
That shit that
That's
pissed me
what he
off.
came here for. That's what he came here for.
Well,
At
I'm
least
saying
that's what the radio said when I
if
listened
if
yesterday.
he came here to campaign, I just know he better use his own damn money because I don't know how the hell they spent how much money it cost to fill up Air Force One and for them to put two bulletproof limousines on their aeroplane. How did they get his limousine here? I know they ain't drive it.
I mean, it's come on, it's Air Force One. You know how big Air Force One is now. Come on.
Exactly. So y'all, I'm just he better be using his own damn money, spending all that money
He
flying two
might he
limousines
might be
across the
he
country.
might be. I didn't hear him about taking like campaigning or anything like that. From what I heard, he was coming into town
He was
because,
campaigning.
I forgot what they call the whole traffic initiative, but the mayor, what's his name? The one I met and I can't remember his name.
That piece of crap, Cavalier Johnson.
Yeah, so he was the one that put that was like the biggest thing during his term, right? That I can recall. That's the biggest change in the city, I should say. Where they stopping people from what we call here in Milwaukee baselining, which is you driving in a parking lane fast as hell for no reason, right? Um, and just that, and they started out in specific areas of the city. Also, the speed bumps, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those are the two things that they did. I feel like at first they started
Well,
out with those little
they only
sticks
put
at
speed
the
bumps
corners.
in unless until it's enough people in a neighborhood to agree to put in the speed bumps because whoever owns a
That's what
house.
they said before, but I feel like that's not completely accurate because they put speed bumps over where I used to live at, and I asked my landlord, and he said they just did it. He didn't know nothing about it, but they got to pay for it.
Yeah, because like we got the letter, we like so when they did before they put the ones in over here, they said the resident at such and such, such and such, was the one who called and but it to start the process for the speed bumps or whatever. And if you agree for the speed bumps, there's a little paper that we have to sign and send back saying we agree for the speed bumps to be put in, and then it showed what each person in the neighborhood would pay for the speed bump.
Yep. So that's what he said. He said he didn't get any notification about it, but this is how I'm so
I
glad I'm
say
not over there no more.
I already say first
I'm
of all,
so
we
glad
talking
I'm
about your
sunny.
old landlord. We all know how he was.
Woo, child, y'all. I'm so glad I decided to buy my house. That was the best thing I ever did in my life. Child, listen.
Like we all know how that one was.
Man.
But yeah, Uncle Joe decided to bring his ass to town, and that kind of pissed me off. And then today I was like, oh, I'm gonna have me some extra money. I can go renew my plates on my vehicle because it's due on the 27th. And then I go to the dealership, and then it's like the thing I think I hate most right now about my vehicle is that it's still under warranty. And for me to keep my warranty, I have to maintain certain maintenance on my vehicle to keep my warranty on the vehicle. So when they say, "Oh, it's recommended at this time, you gotta do such and such," but then something if something was happening to use my warranty, Nissan be like, "Oh well, you had no proof that at such and such miles you got this maintenance done to prevent this from happening." So it's like you have to maintain the maintenance to keep your warranty, and that shit pisses me
Oh,
off.
that sucks.
Yeah. So I ended up having to. So I took my car in for oil change. They're like, "Oh well, you're almost at 15,000 miles, so you need to do this, this, and that."
What do
And
you
that
do
shit.
at 15,000 miles? Wait a minute, I need to know because I ain't never heard nothing like that in my life. What you doing at
So
15,000 miles
they
other than
did
the oil change?
something. They did an oil change, a tire rotation, something with the brake fluids,
Who getting a tire rotation at 15,000 miles?
and something else. It was something else they did on there. And then yeah, it was something else. I'm like,
That
so
shit
like
came out of
they
like
have me.
$300.
Man, it came out to $223. The actual air
I know,
filter
yes.
was only
Air filter.
the air filter, cabin filter, I mean, was only $50.
You only supposed to get that changed once a year. How long you done had that car?
It's been over a year.
Oh, well, okay. Fine.
So the
Okay,
cabin
okay,
filter
today.
was like $50, and I looked at the price. I'm like, they charged me more in labor than the actual parts that they replaced on my car. Like they charged me
So,
$125 for labor.
so let me ask you this: for that to be for your warranty to be maintained, does it have to be them that provide the service?
Most of the time they would say them because you gotta take it to a Nissan Care. So like if something was to happen to it, I would have to take it to a Nissan Care facility in order for them to fix it.
I mean, because I'm like, I'm going to show you how to change your
Because
cabin air filter at this point. Because I'll show
like
you how to change all the
I
systems.
know how to do it. It's in my glove box. Like I know how to do it.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's what I'm saying. Because you could have went and bought that
but
stuff for
then
yourself and just
because
put
then
it
they'd be like,
in.
well, do you have proof it was done at this time and did you do it like so? It's almost like going through them. It's like keeping a law that you maintain and it did on time when you're supposed to do it because then they'd be like, oh, well, since you ain't doing it at such and such, like we recommend that we can void your warranty when such and such happened.
Okay, so next time we change your cabin air filter, we just gonna record you with the time, stamp, and date because you know that just automatically happens with our phones,
Yeah, because
and
it
we
was like,
gonna just
well,
be like,
and then it was
well,
like,
how do
yeah,
we know it was put in properly?
and then it was like, right, and it was like at 30,000 miles, and considering I got an all-wheel drive, I got to get a transmission, flush and fill, and all these other kind of stuff done to it. And it's like, oh yeah, that's gonna run you about $700.
For a
That's not
transmission flush and fill,
a transmission, flush and fill, and some other shit that whatever they do at 30,000 miles. I looked at the thing; it was like $679. That's not including tax
so
and labor.
so so okay, I'll say this. Now, can you go to like a oil place and get your transmission flush, or you gotta actually go somewhere where they change the pan on it? Because
That's
at
actually a
like
question I'm gonna have to ask them.
yeah, so at like these oil places they do like I'm not gonna say you know what I'm talking about. I'm not gonna say their
Hmm.
names. But they do transmission flushes, but they don't change the pan. They
Yeah,
don't change
I
that.
think with the dealer because they like you go to those places they say you have to go to the dealership to change the pan because we can't is like a lock or something on there they said that they can't because that happened on my Altima where they told me
Woo,
I had to go to
you
the
and these
dealership.
foreign cars, honey. I can't say nothing because I got a 401 too.
It was like you have to go to the dealership in order to change the pan. So it was like, yeah, it's probably just better off going to the dealership. But then it's like the reason why it's so expensive is because you have an all wheel drive.
I feel like so my tire rotation and wheel alignment. So they make you do a wheel alignment when you get a tire rotation, right? I feel like that alone was like $150 for me. And then my oil changes because of the type of oil that I get, that I choose to get. I don't have to because my engine is brand new in my car. I, I feel like we probably got about the same mileage on our engines, but I choose the one like the synthetic, right? I always put
Hmm.
synthetic in mine, but it's mine was like almost $100 for my oil change. So yeah, that probably was about right.
Yeah. Because like when I had my older car, I would get the one where the more expensive oil where I would have to go instead of how
High
people was
mileage.
going were like going like 3 times a year, even though I didn't have a high mileage vehicle at the time, because I don't think the vehicle had 100,000 miles yet on my
Yeah, I get the one
the
you
orange
can
car
go
that I had.
five, like five
So
or six
yeah,
months
I was
without
getting
getting
one
an
where I
oil
had to go
change.
twice a year to get an oil change instead of
Yeah,
the 3 or 4 or whatever.
yeah,
And then it's
yeah.
crazy because like um so like they was like I had to. It's not they got the sticker and it'd be like you have to go on this by this mileage or on this day. So technically, like I was my thing, my it was supposed to like come get my oil change by March 17th, or it was like at 17,000 miles. Like I haven't even driven. Like I'm still like 4,000 miles away from 17,000 miles on my car.
Hmm.
And then so like the updated thing, like oh come back in I think June when you hit or in June or 19,000. I'm like, so you know how long it's gonna take me to drive to get to 19th? I don't drive that.
So I will tell you this: when I
I
just
feel
went
like
and
I
got my
shouldn't be
oil
required
change
to get my oil
done,
change by even the dates on there, just on the simple fact I don't drive that much.
so I will say this: like when I went and got my oil change done, they give you the mileage in the month, right? They
Hmm.
told me on a thing, so I opted to get the 5,000 mile one, but then the sticker they put in my car was for like 3,000, and I'm
Hmm.
like, I just spent, you know what I'm saying? So it's like next month, I think I'm supposed to go get my oil change again, and I think I've only driven like maybe 2,000 miles. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So I feel
And,
like that's just
and I
a
feel like
load
I
of
only
shit.
got the mileage that I'm got now because I was doing DoorDash, but I don't even do that no more. So it's like unless I'm going to work or going to go make bad decisions with Tina and Mary, like I don't go
It
nowhere.
ain't bad decisions for Tina Mary.
I know I can't
Oh,
wait for our
speaking of
next
bad decisions,
hibachi.
we making bad decisions this weekend.
Oh yeah, I forgot. I don't know who posted. I don't know because she was talking about going either to Water Street or Brewskis.
So as long as I can get my oh my god, what is it called? My corned beef in the front spot, then I'm good.
You see your corned beef in a crock pot
Yeah, I'm probably gonna just make that on Saturday with my
because
cabbage.
she was I don't, cause I think she was talking about meeting up at like 12 o'clock.
Oh, in the afternoon?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not messing with y'all all day like that. But I like yeah. Okay.
Yay,
Okay.
day drinking.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yes, I
I
figured.
ain't messing
Yeah,
with y'all all day like that.
I think that was the plan to do day drinking and then yeah. But yeah, I was very upset about Uncle Joe coming to town and ruining traffic and all that good stuff. And then one thing that do needs to be discussed is they need to bring back unions so bad.
Need to bring back what?
Unions.
Yeah, I agree. When I was working for the state, I had a union.
Because I
Yeah,
feel
I
like
did.
workers like
And then
without a
they passed a
union,
law that
workers
said no
don't.
union,
Yeah, like
right?
workers, like right now, we don't have the right to collective bargaining in Wisconsin. So it's
Yep.
like, we can get like your management can literally treat you horrible. Your boss can overwork you. They can do all kind of things and just get away with it, and you don't have a say so. You can't say it's like you if you dare to speak about it, we gonna get rid of you. And it's like at some point something needs to be done because it's like it's so many people being burned out, being broke down. You know, people. There are people like we have a few. I have a few coworkers now that's out for months due to injuries at work, and now they're forced because they were overworked, and then they're forced to sit at home and only get 60% of their pay. But in the difference though, like managers, you know, they could come to work with with boots on their foot, their the arm could be in a sling, and they're allowed to come to work and pretend like they're still doing their job and can receive their full pay, while the employees is being forced to sit at home and get half of their pay. And it's like, at what point do companies be like, okay, we need to start treating our employees better, because now they're upset because there's this high turnaround, like, oh, we hired somebody but within 3 months they're quitting. Like, it's like my job has gotten to the point where it's so bad where they hire somebody and then 3 days later they quit. That's how bad it has gotten in the last year or so. And then you have
So,
the people who are not fit to be managers, who don't know how to communicate with their employees, don't know how to what's the word, how to take criticism, or take input from other people. It's just
constructive feedback.
yeah, yeah, right, yeah, their feedback, like listen to their feedback, whatever. Is just no, my way, my way, my way, my way. And it's like people are tired of that. And then you got this new generation, that especially the younger people, they're like, I don't give a fuck. I'm not gonna put up with your shit. I don't care about what you talking about. And they will quit a job and go get another one just like that. And a lot of people keep on saying, like, oh, it's not a lot of jobs out there. It is a lot of jobs out there.
It is. And I said that the other day, like when I was younger, it was so hard to get a job. Now it is so easy to get a job, and that's wild to me.
Right.
It's like you can constantly make money, and I'm just like, whoo, I'm here for it. Yes.
Exactly. So it's like it's a lot of jobs out there, and some of these employers need to realize that. But then the people who are, trying to stick around through the bad times, whatever that the company is going through, whatever, you treat them
Stay
like,
loyal to their company, to
yeah,
their
you
employees.
treat them like shit. And
Yeah.
it's like at some point, like, you need to either reward those people, or you need to change how you are managing your company. Before you lose those loyal people, then you really gonna find yourself in a situation that you don't want to be in. Like in my work environment, there are people constantly complaining on a manager about how unfit the manager is, and how unfair the person is, how inconsistent that this person is. And it's all these, like, they're pointing out, like, hey, this manager is playing favorite with this person. Like, it's noticeable by people who not even manage under this person. And yet there are all these constant complaints from multiple people about this person, but yet y'all still refuse to do something about this person.
So I feel like a lot of things that happen at where you work at, because I used to work there too, y'all, happen because it's such a large entity, right? I
Hmm.
feel like some of the things or some of the same concerns that you have when they come across where I work at, it's a little bit more personable. I do have the opportunity to actually sit down with my boss and talk about things. Her boss, like it's an open door policy. I don't have to make appointments. I don't. I can just walk in and just start complaining out the blue, and then they stop what they doing and they, okay, okay, tell me more. So I feel like that's one of the advantages of working at a smaller company versus a larger entity. And I also feel like, in my experience, I've been working since 14, y'all. And I'm 41 years old, right? Smaller businesses have more compassion and give you more leeway when it comes to like your family or, unexpected events and things like that. They're more accommodating.
Hmm.
In my opinion, um, they're way more accommodating than larger entities. And I get it because larger entities like your job per se, it is a little bit different. Even though we're both in healthcare, it's a little bit different. More, mine is more of an ambulatory setting, where yours is ambulatory or outpatient. and inpatient.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like when it comes to that inpatient um, part, you can't like really cut corners. You can't because you got sick people there around the clock, this, that, and the other, right? You can't really cut those corners. And with your job, and I tell a lot of people because I did that, I did the same thing you was doing for about 10 years, right, on and off. Um, I feel like the people that come in there that are not employees, right? They're not
Mm-hmm.
corporate, they're not management. They are more appreciative to the job that you do than the actual company. And I just say that period. And I don't know why that is because I don't know why that is. Because if the tables turned and they were impatient
Mm-hmm.
and they had one of you guys, come in there and do what you do, would they be as appreciative for you to come in there? You get what I'm saying? Like
Mm-hmm.
I so that's what I don't like. And and I talk to you often about and I hear you talking about just the work conditions and I'm like, how long has it been since I left there? Probably what, like, let me see, I've been here 3 years and 2 years. It's been at least 5 years since I've been there.
Mm-hmm.
And just the work, and I only work there on the weekends, y'all. And just the work conditions, like when I was there, like it was a lot. Then, you know what I'm saying? And I felt like we could use a few more hands here and there, just extra bodies in the building because you never know about, call-ins, vacations, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
You can prepare for vacations, but you can't prepare for call-ins, right? So
Mm-hmm.
just to have a few extra people staff and something like that, because it's always going to be something to do, right? In that environment,
Mm-hmm.
it it's not going to hurt. But then when you get the people at the top that want to cut corners, budget this, budget that, we're going to siphon our money into other things because we want to expand. I get it because just it's a great place, like health wise, and I see their vision. But how you gonna run all of that if if your support staff is not happy? Now, if you don't have a union, right, to do these collective bargaining things when the employees feel like they can talk to their rep and a rep can push these concerns and it's a safe environment and ain't no retaliation happening, no
Mm-hmm.
this, that, and the other happening, then it's like you're gonna have a massive exodus where everybody quits. And then what do you do?
Correct. And that's a problem that they facing now. So like it's been times where we've been told like, hey, we need X amount of people. Like we're getting burned out, we're tired, we're going home sore. We can't really do anything once we're off work because we're too tired to do anything. And then when you go to bed and now you just thinking about how you're gonna be tired the next day coming home from work. Like that's how bad it is. And then we always say like, hey, we need more people, then we get to, oh, it's not in the budget to hire more people. So like the department that I work in, there's a need for at least 34 employees, but it's not in
That's
the budget to
crazy.
hire those 34 employees to fill that spot. So they're going to constantly
So
continue to keep working their current staff to the bone.
So this is my thought process. If this was me, and this is just a wild suggestion I'm gonna throw out there. If somebody want to pick it up, right? There are labor law attorneys. So each company is required by law to post the labor laws, right? Somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
What was that?
Yeah, she got to go be a mom, in which we don't have none of that posted nowhere
Um,
in our hospital.
so usually in the break room. Usually in
Nope,
the
it's
break
not
room.
in
So
there.
think about. So I know they stop y'all from going in certain break rooms, and I feel like when I was in those break rooms, they were there.
So now is they got to say where if you don't work in that floor, you no longer have access. Like we don't have access to the office no more. Like the office for our department, we don't have access. We can't go walk in the office. They literally have the door locked, and you have to call to get let in, or
Yeah,
eventually one of them might see you on a camera and they might buzz you to come in. That's if they even bother to buzz you in to come in.
that's crazy. But so it is required for them to be posted somewhere. You just got to find out where they have it posted
I mean, the
for
director,
for
the
your
director
department.
our current director of our department, he said out his own mouth, we ran the numbers and our system is showing that you guys are responsible for more than 8 hours worth of work within your 8 hour shift. So it's currently showing that you guys are doing about 12 to 13 hours of work in 8 hour shifts. And instead of them doing, like I said, doing the necessary steps so that the staff would not have to do that, they're like, oh no, we're just gonna keep making you do it because it's not in the budget. But at the same
So
time,
no,
you guys spent $20 million on a brand new building that you guys said that you guys didn't budget for, but you guys went along ahead anyways and spent $20 million on a building. You're spending an additional $500 million on a parking structure. Then include the additional $10 to $15 million that you're spending on a new elevator bank, and then that doesn't include the new 14 to 15 story building that you're planning on building after you tear down
so that
a
sounds like
park.
billions to me, like at least a billion, right?
Exactly.
So, so what I'm saying is they have to adhere to the labor laws. Now, when it becomes unsafe work conditions, that's where that gray area comes in. So you can never really say what is an unsafe work condition, right? Unsafe work it's a broad subject. So
Right.
that's where y'all will have your case at. If you get enough people to come forward, go to a labor attorney, right, and say, hey, we feel like because they're telling us we have to do this, that, and the other. You fear retaliation as far as being written up, suspended, or fired if you don't perform these duties. And then tell them how much work you're being told to do and how it's not plausible for you to complete all of that work in one day safely, right?
Right.
Then you go back into like injuries, sickness, stuff like that. Then it's like, hey, well, you're physically burning these people out. And then you have even more of a case where it's like, I'm doing a workers' compensation case. You got plenty of people around there that's doing workers' comps because you're burning these people out with manual labor.
Mm-hmm.
I can't do this anymore. And then you're holding up payments, this, that, and the other. Like it's a lot that's going. So, but if you get enough people, because that's a big entity, you can file a class action lawsuit. And then when you file a class action lawsuit, the plaintiff don't have to be named independently. It's a class action lawsuit
Right.
against them. So then you can remain anonymous, and then now you're okay. And then they look into the practices, the labor laws and stuff of that company. You get what I'm
And,
saying?
and it's crazy
You
because
picking up what I'm putting down?
yeah, but it's crazy because like the younger people, I would say like the people that's in their 20s, they don't even stick around long enough to or even care long enough. They're just gonna quit.
But that's
And
one
then when
thing
you
that can
try
be
to
brought up in a class action
yeah,
lawsuit. Like the
and then when
unsafe work conditions causes a high turnover.
yeah, and then like the older staff members, they have this mindset that because the man told me I have to do it, I have to do it. And
So
so
they work
like
like slaves. Excuse me,
y-
y'all.
yeah. So like when you try to get them to band together, they're scared to do it. Or
But it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be just one department. It can be multiple departments.
that
That's the
is that
thing.
that's also correct, but that's crazy because like you said, but like the
Unsafe
departments
patient to
are
nurse ratio,
yeah.
stuff like that.
but the
Okay.
departments are like so divided. Like it is so divided there. Like there is no type of
I
like
feel like if y'all, I feel like if somebody brought that up, they wouldn't be divided. I feel like if somebody sought out a lawyer and told them this is happening across multiple departments, just not mine, and I see, and it's causing a lack in patient care, that's the issue right there.
right.
You're causing a lack in patient care. You cannot do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then that's when they come in and they start to question people.
That's
They
true.
start sending their paperwork in, and then they meet with whoever their lawyers are, and we sit down. And 9 times out of 10, because it's such a big entity, they want to settle outside of court. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
you always want to do a settlement outside of court, but it's like if the settlement is outside of court, it has to include that you're going to rectify what the you need to pay them more. Number one. Number two, you need to rectify what the issue is. And the thing is, if you create safer work environments and offer people more money, you're going to get more staff. You're going to retain more staff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 'cause like one of
Okay.
the issues is like yeah, we're working towards this. We're gonna switch towards it, and eventually this is gonna be the end goal. But it's like you guys are not at the end goal, and you putting stuff into place before you got the everything else
But
set
you
up. So
can't.
now you burning out your
So,
people.
so my thing is, you cannot expand without the staff. You're only going to burn out the staff that you actually have. So then what? You're gonna fall back on. I don't want to hear that you want to put temps in there. Temps are temps for a reason, right? So what's your long term solution for permanent staff? What is your retention
Mhm.
policy? Like I want to hear all of that. They have committees for that stuff because we have a retention committee at my job. You get what I'm saying? So I know they do have it, you know, and the thing is, their goal is to cut costs by stopping people coming in there as temps across all departments, right?
Mhm.
And getting more permanent staff, and it cuts the cost down because I will say, in my current role, when a temp comes in, they're making at least $15 to $20 more than I do an hour as a
Mhm.
permanent staff member. You get what I'm saying?
In our
So
position, we
and then we think about you can pay them $15 to $20 extra an hour because they're from a staffing agency, they're agency staff,
Mhm.
but and they've been here 3 years. So you've been paying them $15 to $20 more than I've been being paid the 3 years I've been here. How come you can't give me a raise and I do more than they do?
Yeah.
You
So
know what
like
I'm saying?
when we had Power Clean, we just gonna say Power Clean. When we had
Yeah.
Power Clean, they had so like the Power Clean people were getting paid 20 some dollars an hour. And
That's before they raised y'all pay.
yeah. Well, I was still making more than the Power Clean people when they brought them in.
Because you've been there
So
for how many years?
almost 10 years. So yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
So I was making more than them, but at the
Okay.
same time, but way how it breaks down is so they pay so like the company me and Old Man Theater work for, they will pay Power Clean, you know what we're gonna pay you guys, $45 or $50 per person you guys send here per hour.
Yep.
That's how it works. And then
Yep.
so out of
Yep.
that 45 or $50 an hour, Power Clean be like, hey, we're gonna pay somebody 20 some dollars an hour so that way we can make a profit off of them being there. And
Correct.
so then at the time where they were bringing in these people as like temps, they were like they were so they was like, oh, they're not going to go in COVID rooms, they're not going to do this, they're not. So it's like, why are they here if they're not going to be here for the things that we need help for? And it took them a
So
long
that's
time to kind of phase out them people when they were there. And then on top of that, like you have people that you have regular employees that's making $18 an hour that you expect them to go into COVID rooms this is during the time where we didn't have a vaccine or anything, and you expected these people making $18 an hour with no hazard pay because our company did not offer hazard pay
Yep.
to go into these and go into a danger zone. And but you were paying these temp people, $2 more an hour to do less of what you were paying your actual people to do.
Not even just the COVID rooms, but the other rooms, right? I'm not gonna say the
Right.
three initials, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where they had to have the same nurse, the same CNA, the same,
Oh,
and then they
to
blocked
save
up. Yeah,
money.
so
To save money, they changed that. They don't do that no more.
they don't see these type of people no more because I can't imagine them
So
not
no, they
seeing
still
those
got
people
those.
with those
They
things.
still got those kind of patients, but instead of that nurse just having that one patient the whole day, that nurse now can. Oh, the nurse is going to have five. Two, if they're in the ICU, the nurse is still going to have 2 to 3 patients. They're on a regular. If it's a regular floor, the nurse is going to have
That
five
is
other patients.
where is the research saying that that's safe, right? So that's my thing, right? Cross contamination. So I need to see some. See, that's why I can't work there because I wouldn't even. They would have been got rid of me. First of all, they tried to lowball me. They tried to lowball me, and where I'm working at in primary care, I have weekends, holidays off. I damn near make $20 an hour more than what they was trying to offer me on the transplant unit. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? Sick people, transplant. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and now I'm seeing people that's walking in for just regular common chronic issues. That's it. What you say? You need a TB test? Oh, okay. You need a flu shot? Oh, okay. Your blood pressure high? Oh, okay. What your diabetes look like? Oh, okay. Stuff like that. So that's what I'm saying. Like that's wild to me. And that's why, and back in the day, that facility was the facility to work at. It was so hard to get into. And that's the whole reason why I applied there in that position because I knew I was going to go to school. I knew I was going to graduate. And I was like, I want to work here. This is going to be my first job. Man, when I sat down and had my first interview, I was like, first of all, I had been put in an application to transfer. They wasn't trying to let me transfer for one, right? They was trying to hold against me when I was in the hospital. When you
Mm-hmm.
came to see me in the hospital, right? They tried to write
Mm-hmm.
me up for that, right? Like,
Right.
how you gonna try to write me up for something that you knew I was in the hospital at the same hospital I work at, and you tried to write me up for that, and then you tried to hold that against me when I wanted to transfer after I graduated. So
Oh,
I
they
had to
still
eat them
do
up
that
for
now.
that.
If you don't
I had to
find
eat them up.
if you don't file for a leave of absence now, so say like you go into the hospital and you don't call in to work and like I can't call, I'm in the hospital, what you expect me to do? Yeah, they still hold those absences against you.
Oh, I called in. So that's the thing. I called in every day that I wasn't
Yeah,
there.
but
And I
and
supplied
they still hold
doctors'
everyone against you.
excuses and everything.
Yep, and they still hold it against you. Like, oh well, you didn't file for a leave of absence, so these are still going to count against you.
But I couldn't though, because I was part time.
Exactly, I know.
You know what I'm saying? So that's the thing. And I asked, so this is my thing. When you go to your supervisor and you ask what you're supposed to do, and they tell you you straight. She told me I was straight. You know what I'm saying? Now I ain't gonna say no name. She told me I was straight. And I didn't believe her, so I still called in every single day. I think I was out for 2 weeks. And to be honest, I probably need to be out longer than that. But I am who I am, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for me to come back when I did, you know what I'm saying? And then I get hit with a write up and it's not even her. She put somebody else up to it to present the write up. And I threw it
Mm-hmm.
back in her face and I said, y'all crazy. Y'all crazy is I don't know what to think I'm going to sign something like this. Absolutely not. And I said, and if you don't get it off my record, I'm going to find an attorney and I'm going to sue y'all.
Right.
And what did they do? They took it off my record and they told me I could transfer. I'm not gonna play with y'all. That's why I say to people, Know what your rights are. Read everything that you sign in when you first get your job, for one. People are notorious for not reading the things that they sign when they first get their job. Know what it is that you can and cannot do. Know what the loopholes are. This is 2024. We ain't nobody's slave. Ain't nobody slaving to nobody. I don't care what your race is. We ain't doing that. Absolutely not. They need us.
When we used to
They
have
need us.
huddles, we don't have those no more. But when we used to have them at the beginning of the huddle, they're like, "Oh, we need you to sign this." And they now it, like after a few years, they was like, "I'm not signing that until after the huddle." And they're like, "What do you
Yeah.
mean?" I'm like, "Cause I don't know what this is about. Like, this might mean no. It might be something that I don't agree with, so I'm not going to sign it to the end of the huddle."
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then like now it's like, and so like I remember there was one point where I was off of work once again from an injury from there, and I was off from work. And I went back. I was gone for like 3 months, and then I came back to work, and there were so many rule changes that I didn't know about. And then it was like, I'm getting in trouble now for stuff that I don't even know that's a rule. And how
Oh,
am I supposed to know?
that sounds like a them problem.
Yeah, and I'm like, well, how am I supposed to know that something is a rule if nobody told me that it's a rule when I came back?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like one of those make it make sense situations. Like just like recently at work, I was like, when I come in the morning, I said I have other shifts complaining about. Oh well, he left this and this wasn't done and this wasn't done. So like for
Yeah.
well, I waited a whole week, I didn't say anything. So I went to a certain floor, one of my floors. I went to a certain floor, and every day I went to the room. I took a picture of what I walked into every day, every single day, and I said every single day it was the same thing. It was I was coming into a bad situation every day. So then it was just it came time where it's like, oh, well, they said that you left this. I'm like, okay, first of all, I don't even have enough time on my shift to do everything that you expect me to do. And then I'm like, and then on top of that, if I'm spending half of my morning cleaning this up, and I started swiping through my log of 7 photos, and I started swiping and going through it. I'm like, so if I'm cleaning stuff like this up every day when they come in order for me to start doing my job correctly, how am I supposed to get all my work done in 8 hours?
I always said I didn't want to go into management because I knew I probably would get fired for the mouth I got on me. But
Mm-hmm.
maybe they
That's what I
do need
figured.
people like us in management. You know what I'm saying? Like, not just placeholders, like people that's actually going to speak up for the staff because we've been there. We've held those positions.
Oh,
You
that
know
that
what I'm
place
saying?
that place, the managers are not allowed to speak up for their staff because all the managers who has spoken up for their staff has gotten fired.
But that's retaliation. Retaliation. That's
Mm-hmm.
retaliation. That's
I think
I'm
I
not
told you
saying.
this before. I had a manager before. He was like, "Hey, he submitted a plan to the director saying, "Hey, I work for the government and I done this and I done this. Like planning is what I did for most of my career." So he was like, "Hey, I got this plan that I put together that one put a lighter load on the staff, and two, it'll still save the company money." And he was like, they threw his proposal in the garbage.
That is terrible, man. And then it's
And then
like,
2 weeks later,
like
he
I
quit.
said,
Mind you, he was
that's
a
why I said,
supervisor.
like,
He only lasted about 2 months as a supervisor before he quit. Shout out to
but
Dan,
that's
by
what
the
I'm
way,
saying.
because he's on my Facebook list. Shout out to you, Dan, because man, I miss you as a supervisor.
You don't get a lot of those.
No,
But that's what I'm saying. Like, just how, like, why? Like, you just gonna get rid of somebody? That's why I couldn't do it. Like, they would send me emails, and they send them still send me emails. Like, we don't like to recruit you. No, no, you wouldn't. You don't know what you can get
man, I
yourself
don't
into.
understand how we have like the second shift supervisors and the first shift supervisor. There's an overlap where both of them are there at the same time. And
Yep.
instead of like talking and communicating with each other, like, hey, can you come up on the floor and I can show you this, or I can say like, hey, look, can I point this out to you? Da 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 da. Instead, like you
Mhm.
have your staff take a picture, and then you tell your staff to send it to you, and then you don't email it to that supervisor. Like, Why are y'all emailing each other and y'all all sitting in the same room? And it was like it was one situation where somebody from the rehab place, when the Rays had a rehab gym up there, and they complained, and it was like, hey, this hasn't been getting done over the course of whatever time, and it's starting to become an issue. Like, he sent somebody up here to do it. And for that supervisor or that supervisor's response was, I trust that my team is doing their job. Obviously, if they were doing their job, I wouldn't be on this phone talking to you.
That's terrible. So that's terrible customer service, right?
Exactly. That's terrible customer service.
But yeah, I'm gonna take you seriously and come up there and check it out and see what you're saying, and I'll address it. Don't worry.
Right.
That's all you gotta say to them. You go back to your staff and say, hey, this is the concern that was brought to me for this area. Can I have somebody speak up on it? Because you really don't know if you're not there watching, like lurking, like micromanaging over somebody. You don't know what happened.
Exactly.
Maybe they got pulled away to do something else. Maybe they were short staffed that night. Hey, give me some feedback as to what happened, and then see what they say. Don't just go into it and then just making it seem like wasn't nobody doing their job. Find out what the issue was. And then when you get a bunch of blank stares, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then you need to go, and that's an area that you need to micromanage until they get it together.
Exactly, but that would never happen. But with that being said, y'all, I feel like we had a great discussion today, and with the time that we got left, let's head into final thoughts.
Oh, hey, it's me. Okay, so y'all got this series touring in the background who will be trying to final thoughts. So one of my final thoughts: don't have kids when you're 40 years old. You're gonna be tired as hell. Okay, you ain't gonna know what to do, and you're gonna be sitting beside yourself like, what kind of decision did I make? But no, for real. My final thought is educate yourself. Okay, I'm very passionate about mental health awareness in all aspects of it. Like I said before, my first major was psychology. Okay, I've always been interested in the human brain and human behavior. Okay, and I feel like that greatly affects how the world is. Period. Right, 100%. If you are battling addiction, it's a lot of different resources out there for you. I encourage you to stay strong in your decision. If you feel like nobody is supporting you, I am. You are. You are supporting yourself. Okay. You have to. You have to learn how to bring that out from inside yourself and realize that you're doing it for you. You're doing it primarily for you, to be better for you because you deserve better. Okay. Final thought number 2: don't let these companies get away with whatever. Hold them to what they're supposed to be doing. Read the stuff that you're signing. Learn your law. Educate yourself as far as safe labor practices, and make them stand on it. Like, stand on the things that you have a problem with. If they decide they want to terminate you, make sure it was a fair termination versus an unfair termination. And I will always tell people this: if you go into human resources, your supervisor's office, and you want to complain, you got to make sure your stuff is together. You coming to work on time, your area or whatever your duties are done properly, okay? And then now you have concerns because, hey, this, that, and the other. They gotta take you seriously. You come to work and do what you're supposed to do. And if you decide to complain, they have no reason. They don't have a loophole to get rid of you to shut you up. Okay. Also, start talking to other people. See if it's a pattern. How long you been here? 16 years. This ain't never got better. What you said, force them to get better. You know what I'm saying? You are coming to work. You're spending the majority of your lives at their company to make sure that they're making money. Make sure it's something safe and profitable for yourself. Is it also? That's my final thought.
All right, hello. My final thoughts is gas is still too damn high.
Oh
Can
my
we get
god.
gas prices go back down to $1.99 at least? Because I cannot
Nope.
stand paying these high ass prices for gas prices. Uncle Joe needs to
Not driving
reimburse me.
everywhere.
I'll be driving everywhere, but to that damn place.
I'm
Uh,
home.
Uncle Joe need to reimburse me for my gas I had burned sitting there waiting for him 45 and a half years. I was waiting for him because he wanted to wave at people at the Boys and Girls Club. So I feel like I should be reimbursed for that gas. Um, one thing I want to add that we should have is what's the word I'm trying to think of, a company should be required to give people mental health days. Can we please make that a thing? Do we need to go,
I like that idea.
protest? Do we need to go marching? We need to go do something. We need to do something for that way these companies can start giving their employees mental health days, because there are just some days where people are just like, I cannot deal with life today, and I just need to take a break and collect myself and bring myself together. But because I don't have, the time off, or I can't afford to take the time off, they're constantly be forced to go to work and just go through the motions of everyday life without really dealing with whatever is going on with their head or with their emotions or what they're just in this life issues in general. So can we please make mental health days a thing with employers? And that's my final thoughts.
So I want to add one more thing. Tomorrow's the third year anniversary of the passing of my father. He was my rock. He was my
Marvin,
guardian. He was my protector. He was my educator. I miss him with all my heart, y'all.
I drink to that.
Wait, I got my shot over here. Okay, okay.
Oh, oh, with that being said, okay. So I don't know what was going on with
Hurricane
that. I had
Harvey.
to verify myself on TikTok. But with that being said, thank you all for joining us on this episode of Same Cast Different Day podcast. If you want to watch us live, make sure you tune in next Thursday at 7:15 p.m., 6:15 p.m. on the East Coast, and we will see you all next week on the Same Cast Different Day podcast.
Bobby said.